We are officially live
Finally, dude.
and filming this podcast. So
That's awesome. I love how you have to like set everything up,
right,
and then forget everything's been set up and just have a conversation.
it's such a process. It's such a process, but it's kind of cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I like being live.
Yeah, and it's like you get to think about conversations in a different way, and it's like how are you going to present things and
Presenting ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a cool concept. I like it a lot. And podcasts are really cool because they're coming out now. A lot of people are doing them. A lot of people are on the go. So people want to like be interacting with information, learn, be interacting with the world, get news from like a good, new, unbiased perspective. And this is kind of like our generation's way of doing that, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. It's like podcast is the new radio.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
You know?
I feel that.
Like radio talk shows and like stuff like that. We're getting away from like the visual and we're just thinking now.
Yeah.
We're wanting to do more thinking and more like get into like ideas.
For sure. For sure. And it's like we've kind of gone through the stage where information and the information we were getting, like the sources of that information was very like, it was very guarded. It was very closed. And we would only be getting them from a very select few places, and it would be very moderated. Like they would be very careful about what they're letting out. But now we're getting so many new conversations, so many new ideas, and I just think it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great.
The Renaissance, dude.
The Renaissance of, yeah, we were in this whole like visual phase, I felt like, for a while, and now we're coming back to audio.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why it's kind of leaving, is like people want more, they want less, like we were wooed by that content before.
Mm-hmm.
But now I feel like always humans are gonna want more.
Mm-hmm.
We're not happy with that though, you know?
Yeah.
We'll always be discontent with the shallow, and we are gonna eventually want to go deeper.
That's true. Of course. That's just human nature.
But I feel like some people underestimate that. Like, it's gonna come out, we're gonna fight that
Yeah,
stuff.
it's true.
I don't know.
People will like deceive themselves into thinking, because I think it's human nature. Like if you tell somebody like not to do something, like they'll just want to do it that much more. So we had this whole time and era where it was like, don't speak up, don't put your ideas out there, your ideas don't matter. And then we just see like whether it's a movement or not, what we see is just the reversal of that oftentimes in like a macro scale. So now it's like everybody should be putting out their ideas, and we've been like, when we neglected it on a large global scale before, now we're like becoming very accepting of it.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like it a lot.
That's good. I like that trend. That's definitely something we should be moving towards.
Yeah, dude. I think like everybody has their voice though. Like everybody should be putting their ideas out there, whether or not they think they're important or not. Because what it forces you to do is to reflect. And it's like, if I'm gonna talk to people, if I'm gonna engage with people, if I'm gonna put the stuff out there, I want it to be valuable. And to actually bring value, you have to go through like you know what I mean. What are the most valuable experiences you had in your own life?
In terms of what? Like everybody sees value differently, you know? Like
when you say like, yeah, things that you just say like, I place the most value on that. I couldn't like, money maybe couldn't even get you there to the like certain things. Like everybody has their own scale, but it's like a certain like item, a certain experience, a certain person may bring you to a whole another level, and you reconsider like your whole scale to begin with.
That's so true, because that one instance where that happened was when I was in college. I met I saw this professor. It was like my third year, who was like drugs and behavior. Mm-hmm. But the way he thought about everything, the way he like looked at things, was a lot like how I looked at things, and that I was missing from college. It's like this like wanting to like, everything is interesting, you know, like like we can like so curious, and you can tell that he was an older guy, so he's been curious for years, and now when you ask him, he knows those answers.
Nice.
Whereas for me, I'm like, every time I have a new question, I'm like, okay, learn about this.
Right.
So it was interesting talking to that person, and then like just sometimes those people that you meet that you're like, that's how I want to be.
I feel that.
You know?
Really, there's certain people in life that we meet that like really shape our personality, whether it be like sharp contrast of us seeing like maybe what we don't want to be or what we do want to be.
True.
You know what I mean? Both of those can be powerful, I think.
That's so true.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say, in terms of like bringing value and stuff, it's important to like identify that, because if we identify those things that are really valuable, oftentimes what I was gonna say was, it's like you were saying, it's those things that are not easy, it's those thought-provoking questions, and it's those people that really push us. But those are the most valuable experiences, because while it might not have been comfortable, while you're going through it, and like you're pushing your thought process, and you're trying to expand and not just shut down and be like, no, I'm just gonna worry about me and myself and I, and you're actually like thinking about these bigger level questions. That's when you get the really valuable stuff. And then by going through that process and actually wanting to put your own voice out there, I think it's a really transformative experience that people can go through. Because it forces you to go through those experiences in your life. I mean, like, that was really valuable for this reason. And then, number one, it makes you grateful for your own life because you try to look for the value, you look for the opportunities, you look for the good stuff. But it also allows you to just be reflective and like have some distance from it.
Dude, that's something that I've been thinking about lately too, is like, because I heard this post that said that like, it was Kurzgesagt, one of those videos, and they said like the ultimate way to like happiness and kind of like being better is gratitude. Just being grateful for everything that you do have. Like once a week, write down all the things that you're grateful for. And some of the things they said were like, I'm grateful for the smell of coffee.
Nice.
I'm like,
random shit.
There's so many, everybody has something.
You have something.
Write down a bunch of those things, and they said that people who practice more gratitude make more friends, are happier, better, like more successful, less susceptible to burnout.
True. Yeah. No, dude, that's so powerful. I mean, like, you hear every like self-help guru, anybody that's ever talked about mindset, every business book that you want to like look into, it's like, oh, it's all about mindset. It's all about mindset. And like, it's, like your perception will do everything. But like, that can like sound really scientific and woo-wah, but it's like, there's actually like biological mechanisms in place that control this type of behavior. And when we build the habits around negative thinking, we don't even realize it. There's something called the reticular activation system, and it's your body's habitual and biological patterns over time that are built up, and it essentially chooses what you focus on. So in that instance of maybe fear, anxiety, meeting a new person, whatever experiences that are unique to you and may activate that more and more, your reticular activation system is going to choose what you focus on. So if you are habitually focusing on the negative, saying how things are not going to work out to yourself, thinking about things in that way, then habitually this reticular activation system will kick in, and it'll just, time after time, while you're not even thinking about it, when you first come into contact with that situation, the first things your mind will focus on are those aspects of the thing that are going to make you feel that certain ways, that gives you the emotional response.
That's true. If like lately, especially, I've been noticing myself when I fall into certain patterns, I'll like immediately start feeling some way, and I'll start having like certain, like the feelings you can actually feel, if you focus on it. And then you realize I have those same feelings every single time, and then I have these certain thoughts that I'm like, why do I have those thoughts? But like, I think one way to like get over it is like, first of all, to like look at the thought, right?
Yeah.
And then
bring awareness to it.
Maybe go into a different different action or different form of action. Like what would you think would get you out of that?
Well, I mean, like this is the thing. Like, I mean, there's a lot of different ideas to handle problems and like stuff like that. But on some level, the best thing, and like the only solution and answer that I found that can apply to more than one situation, because there's always specifics of the problem that you may or may not be able to fix. I mean, an easy one is like, I think, have you ever seen those like memes or Instagram posts where it's like, or people just even saying it, can you worry, like say you have a problem or something that's giving you anxiety, ask yourself, can I do something about the situation? If the answer is yes, then don't stress, because you can do something about it. Just take action.
Right.
Being crippled by thinking about it, though, is what's going to make you feel that way.
Right.
On the other hand, if the answer is no, you can't do anything about it, then let it go, right? And that's like great, but it kind of just keeps you in this loop where you're like, oh, I wish I could do something, but I can't. I wish, but I can't. But I just think on a bigger level, like, it's all perspective. Like, any type of, any scoping back of awareness and remembering perspective, I think in all parts of life, like even if you have big business deals that fall through, or you know what I mean, it's all about the relative. It's all about, okay, is this really gonna matter? Is this really gonna affect me when I'm sitting on my deathbed, when I'm thinking about what's most important in my life?
Dude, that's hard to do though.
It is.
Like, but it's a pattern. Like lately, one thing I like to do is think, like yeah, I need to, like, sometimes I have this urge, like, oh, I gotta do more right now,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And then, but just that urge with no direction can be, like, almost toxic sometimes.
Oh, true.
You know?
Yeah.
But then I'm like, because I'm like, oh, I gotta do something right now, but time's up, but, you know, like, I
Yeah.
give myself these, like, time scales that don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
But when I sit down and think, oh, I have 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
40 years, 50 years, I don't have to rush now,
Mm-hmm.
but it makes me, like, calm, but it also makes me, like, grateful, and it also, like, puts you in a better mindset, I think.
It does. It's like, because you realize, okay, I mean, there's so much power in surrender, right? Such an Eastern idea, and it might sound like so foreign and like kind of like, oh, I've heard it before, cheesy. But it's so true. Like, if you can surrender to the fact that you truly have that amount of time, then you don't feel that rush, like you're talking about, that anxious feeling where you're like, oh, I should be doing something.
Yeah.
Because really that comes up for me when I feel like I'm not doing enough. And I mean, look, listen, I've been in psychological points in my life where it's just like, even if you're working yourself to the bone, working at like all hours of the day, if you're still not satisfied, then that's on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mental thing you have to go through and be like, I'm actually like being like, I'm not being realistic with myself. Yeah. I'm not gonna be able to attain that. And then going back to what I was saying before, if you can actually be really happy with the amount of work that you're doing, then I feel like those feelings don't come up, because it's like you're on your grind. But like you were saying, if you can surrender to that fact that you truly do have that much time, then it's really easy to just take a chill pill, have some perspective, work on things that is like, okay, saying like maybe you want to write, maybe you want to make videos, maybe you want to make music. Okay, maybe you have to grind at this job for a couple years, but maybe you can do the other thing in the background, right? So it's all about like, okay, I do see the fact that right now I do need to have practical means of maybe making money, you know, making my family happy, providing for people, whatever it may be, whatever your situation is. But at the same time, having that perspective, just going into that awareness of, yes, I do have time, so that you can make those choices in the long run, that like after a year you're like, you know, what did I accomplish this year? And you're like, you know what, I've been working on this in the back of the head and back of my mind, or, you know, on my computer, nobody even knew about it. And like, you know, maybe I've been working on like a business that you're like finally ready to launch. You're doing something for yourself.
Yeah.
And then so, yeah.
I like the way you said it, like dropping a little bit in the bucket at a time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you have first thing you need to do is find out what your goals are. Right, or find out what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a hard part in itself.
Yeah.
But once you do that, then it's like, okay, how much work should you put on it? And then it's having a balance between realistic, because you know you gotta live, you gotta get money, you gotta do things. There's certain things you have to do.
Right.
And then the balance between that, and then the balance between like what you want to do, what makes you passionate, and what makes you happy.
True that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a balance. You just reminded me of that post you sent me. Surrender and discipline, and it's like flow.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle. And that's like a perfect way to think about it, because it's like, yeah, we have to do those certain things that are maybe, like there's always going to be shit that we don't want to do, that we kind of have to do.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody told me this once, it really helped me, as like a neurotic thinker, and somebody that's always like, oh, I gotta do the next thing, where it's gotta be perfect even, and trying to like squeeze and like control a situation to like my whim.
Yeah.
Just having that impulse and like wanting to do something with it. Somebody told me once, it's helpful, don't focus on like the actual result that you want. Don't focus on, hey, I want to have a business that it looks like this is what it has on the front cover, this is the people that work there, and this is the way it runs, and this is how the people feel. I don't really like, I think that it's never going to live like that, and you know, that's where you got to surrender to the fact that you got to modify to the environment, you got to modify to the market, you got to modify to what people want. But at the same time, you can be really, really disciplined in the couple of things that are a little bit more like ephemeral, a little bit more like that you can't touch and put your fingers on, like the way that you're going to treat your customers, like the way that you're going to treat your employees, the way that your business model is going to work so that it like actually creates value for people, like things like that. And then so that was really powerful for me, because it was like, okay, I can focus my energy and doing better and better and better at those things, and then the outer shell of the specifics can come later. It doesn't matter as much.
I see what you mean. that is tough. Like there's so many things that you could think. I guess it's also just about efficient energy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like think like all those other things you said. What are my customers? How are my employees gonna feel?
Right.
You got to think about all that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, one, why think about it now?
True.
Until you have the problem in front of you.
Right.
Wait for that to happen and then do it.
True that.
Because, and then it comes down to being in the moment.
Of course.
It's like right now in this moment, what can you do?
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do anything about it, then forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can, then now you know what you need to do.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
That way, you take action.
Yeah.
Action is the most important. Like,
action is the most
you just
important.
want to freaking take action.
You have to at the end of the day. It's like all the thinking in the world. It's just not going to get you there.
It's the only thing that matters. I mean, you want to think about your action, but nothing happens until you take the action.
For sure. Yeah. It's tough though. We just have so many options in this day and age.
Yeah.
And as people that are so young, it's like we could really get into like so much. Like everything's changing so fast.
It's almost like too many options.
Exactly.
What's that called when you get too many options and you can't choose? It's like a psychological thing.
Oh.
Over stimulate, or yeah, something like that.
Like over it, you just can't make it. You're crippled.
But it's a thing. Like
yeah.
if we have too many choices, we're just like,
yeah, crippled in the moment. That's true. Yeah, that's how it feels kind of these days. It's tough.
It's true. I mean, because you literally can do anything. Like right now today, if I was just like, I just got hit by a bolt of lightning, and something told me that I gotta make music.
Mm-hmm.
I could do it.
You can do it.
I could download a program on my computer, which there's a bunch of free programs.
Yeah.
Buy a speaker off Amazon for like $20, and boom, I'm starting to make. Buy like it doesn't cost that much money, and you're already started.
Yeah.
And you have all of these opportunities for posting your music and spreading your music. And that's true about like anything.
Mm-hmm.
So with all that option, it's a great thing, right? It's like a great time in history.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, how the frick do you decide?
It's how do you decide? Yeah, man. And it's tough because it's like, as much as you like want to identify those passions for yourself and work on something that you really love, there's so many people out there that would just rather fake it and like say that they make music online or like, just like talking about shit without actually doing it. There's so much like showing and stuff that's going on versus people that are just like giving value and having real conversations and trying to use like things that way.
And that comes from your priority though. Like those people who are just faking it, they don't care about actually doing something. They care that people know that they're doing something.
That's true.
And that's where they place their value.
True.
You know? And so, but in the long run, it's just not, nobody cares.
Yeah, I mean, like, nobody cares, yeah, true, but it just sucks, man, because it's just, like, I wish you could tell those people in those moments, like,
don't waste.
because I've been there, too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you put your energy, like, when you put that much energy or you put that much power into other people's opinions, even when it's good, you give that much power, like, it can tear you down that much more when it's, like, negative.
Mm-hmm.
And if you care that much, like, about other people's opinions, you'll be chasing that.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I mean? It's an endless chase.
And you'll never be happy because there's always going to be somebody who doesn't agree.
Of course.
Always.
Yeah, you gotta worry about your own opinion first and the way that you feel about your own life. And it's so important for people to feel that way because otherwise you think that you're like being super accommodating?
Yeah, that's right.
Accommodating to people. You think you're being super accommodating to people, but really that fact that you're not like super content with your life and what you're doing, people can feel it.
Yeah.
They can totally tell that you're maybe not present or they ask you how it's going and you say, good. Just like, the same generic response that you kind of do every week. And I just think, like, you do yourself a disservice by doing things that suck life away from you and things that you don't enjoy. But you also impact everybody else around you because now you give your gift and your voice and your message to the world as well as you could.
You can't.
You can't at all.
Yeah, and that's we're losing on something. But everybody has like a voice.
Of course.
No matter what, it's like genuine, it like unique.
You just gotta find it.
You gotta find it, and that's a journey to go find your voice. That's
a big one.
Why is it though? Like why? And that is true about almost everybody I know. There's very few people that you'll find that just like flow and are just able to be like, hey, like they're just genuinely themselves all the time.
Yeah.
And those people, you can never be like, hey, how are you so yourself? They're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, they're just so natural. They're always just naturally like, you know, like, but other people are like, most people, we can't get through that to our genuine self. But why? I feel like it's part like our society, like upbringing.
Yeah, man, it's a lot. Human beings are complicated.
Yeah.
There's so much going into it.
It's not just one thing.
Dude, there's like layers to it. Like on one level, number one, we always play roles. Like, think about any romantic relationship or like mother, like, you know, like parent, child relationship, anything like that. It's like, I'll play who you want me to be and you'll play who I want you to be. Mm-hmm. And as long as we both kind of maintain that, there's this like cordial, and you might even feel it. Like the thing is, most of us even do it, but we just don't even realize it. Like, we automatically play like customer when we're at a restaurant and being served by a waitress or waiter, right? And we automatically just go through these roles, and then we just kind of stay on autopilot.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Just like minimal effort, and then I don't know, man. We just go on like that sometimes, and then beyond that, like, we have so much that we do just to try to like protect our own identity. Like, so like people that like flow like that, I don't know if there's any people that just like grow up like that. I mean, if you do, man, you have to be lucky as fuck.
Yeah.
You have to have great parents, like solid upbringing, but you know, with just the right amount of like world and perspective, like opening, so that you can be inviting and accommodating to all different types of people and cultures. But I think really you have to find yourself.
I feel like it's less upbringing and more sometimes just natural.
Yeah.
Like there's some like.
I'm sure some people are just born with it.
Just born with it, you know. And then some people, but it's proven like we watched Free Solo the other day, and that guy is insane. Yeah, fucking amazing. That guy's like brain is just wired differently. Like
honestly, I don't know if it is though. You would say what you were gonna say, and then we'll talk about that. Go ahead.
So the way I saw it, he needs first of all, he's obsessed with rock climbing.
Right.
Okay. He loves the risk and it makes him feel like crazy, right?
Mm-hmm. For anybody that doesn't know, Free Solo is this cool documentary by National Geographic about this guy who does free solo rock climbing, which is no rope, no harness, no safety equipment whatsoever. He just has a little bag of chalk like behind him, and he's just free climbs these huge like mountain and boulder like places, and honestly, like, you know, one slip, one fall, it means complete death. So it's an insane sport, and we just stumbled upon this documentary. Absolutely blew our minds.
Yeah.
Like, it's a crazy concept, and in this documentary specifically, he was climbing El Capitan in California.
Never been done before.
It
was and even like a bunch of they interviewed a bunch of professional rock climbers who were just like, no, that's crazy, you can't do that.
Damn.
Not without rope.
Yeah.
Not on El Capitan.
People have died from it, dude. It was a crazy documentary, and you see this guy's mental process, but he's a very interesting individual. What were you gonna say about it?
But yeah, and he is an interesting individual, and they actually did a brain scan on him and found that a normal human brain, when they see a bunch of different images, their certain images, their amygdala fires, and his amygdala, no action.
Wow.
And so what the neuroscientist said was, a lot of these things that other people feel good about, like hugs, meeting people, you know, like interactions, even sex, like it's not doing it for you as much.
Right.
So that's part of the reason, I believe, why he needed to climb mountains, because he felt more alive than ever, and he said that himself. So that makes me think that kind of person, and you saw everybody said it too, he was so just like naturally brutally honest.
Yeah. Lying
didn't make him feel uncomfortable being himself, telling people exactly how he feels, even though he knows people are going to be like, even though anybody would think they're going to be like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
He just like says it as fact.
Yeah, he just says it how he feels.
So that's part of that, what's going on in his brain too.
True.
But you're saying that he may not have been born that way?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to take in. Right, we have so much that goes into who we are and like what makes up our genetics and our brain at the end of our life. So I mean, yeah, he could have definitely been born with it. He could have been something that he was brought up with in childhood. I was going to say as well, it's interesting though the way that he approached his specific climbs, and the process that he went through, because I think it speaks a lot to like maybe that tells us about his activity. So he was talking about in the documentary what he would do with these crazy high like bouldering and mountain like climbing expeditions. He would map certain areas and he would have it down pat, you know what I mean? He would understand it and he would do it and he would do it and he would do it until it's not scary anymore.
Right, the way he dealt with fear.
Exactly.
I like that.
And he broke that down. So, I mean, this is like, they found this a lot in a lot of like different brain studies, but oftentimes it's the anticipation of the thing that, you know, maybe we feel more, if that's like, makes sense. Like it's not actually touching the hot stove, but maybe it's like the reaction and the jolt from it that really like produces that response so much.
That's true.
So I think what he did was he just calms that down, and they actually found this in like he found this in like yogis and stuff too. What they would do in like, for example, like cold baths or cold showers, you know, ice baths, stuff like that, cryotherapy. What they would find is that people actually, before they would get in the bath or would enter the cold environment, their whatever center of their brain would start firing really, really high before they would actually go in.
Wow.
So it's more of like the anticipation of it, and then it would like actually die down once they actually went into the experience. But what they found with like these yogic masters, what I'm sure he kind of talked about too and kind of experiences, is whether he's aware of it or not, is like extreme presence. So these people, what they actually experience is probably not the anticipation and shock. What they really feel is the actual actions of going through it. So whenever they're in that environment of extreme cold or extreme fear, like the rock climbing, they're completely and totally present. So they almost just feel the cold and feel the fear rather than being crippled by it, and it allows them to do these crazy things.
Yeah, I always think about that because there's this other story about this girl. This is totally random, out of nowhere, but it kind of makes sense. There was this girl that was found in the woods, and she was kind of I don't know if she was raised by wolves, but she was literally born and raised in the woods.
That's
but
crazy.
Never met any humans, and so this church found her in, I think it was in Spain, and this nun took her in and like noticed a bunch of weird things. First of all, she was found naked because she never had clothes in the dead of winter.
Jesus.
I don't think it was Spain. It was somewhere really, really cold, like Russia or something.
Wow.
In the dead of winter, she was found like that, like totally naked. She was totally fine with it.
Sure.
And so, like, she never thought, and she was only like 8 or 9 at this time.
Okay.
And then she took her in and, you know, try to like basically tame this like human child that's like an animal, and she was very, very strong. Completely did not give a shit about cold or anything like that. One time she was giving her a bath and the water coming out was like so cold or so hot. I'm not sure which one. Either one, she just like didn't even react to that, because she was just, temperature didn't matter to her. Heat or cold, she just had no like perception, or I don't know if it was she was exposed to that so much or anything like that.
Right.
But there's a similar story of a girl who was blind and deaf, who was abused as a child and like kept in a dark room and not given any like interaction, and like tortured like as a baby. Jesus. Basically. But she was being also like kind of helped and, you know, nurtured with a psychiatrist after she got out of that environment. And one day she was giving her a bath and the water was ice cold, and she just like was taking a bath normally, didn't even, and when she went and like felt it, she was like, oh shit, it's so cold, but the child like didn't even react. So that's all like in the mind. I don't know, those two different situations of these girls, one that grew up in it, one that not necessarily grew up in it, but is just so kind of separated from reality. Is that, like, how does that connect? Like, where does that ability to like not feel or be susceptible to it, but what is it, because they knew or they expected it,
Right.
or is it because of something else, like their awareness is not on the pain or on what they're feeling?
Right.
Is that why they're able to handle more?
That's true. That's a really good concept. I mean, there's two ideas that I have. I think with the first girl, maybe it's something to do with just the fact that she was brought up in that. And then her body's better at adapting quickly to like hot and cold.
Yeah.
Right, more than us, that she doesn't have that like shock because there's nowhere to run. Right, you can't run cozy up in a blanket outside in the wilderness.
Exactly.
Yeah, but with the other chick, maybe it's like perception. Like she probably didn't even know that there was a cold setting on the shower.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She can't see which side is hot and cold. She just turns on the water.
Exactly.
And after a certain level of shock, maybe. I mean, you can't see the water when it's about to hit you. There's no like stuff like that, so it's probably a completely different experience. You can't even hear the water.
Yeah.
And like when it's about to flow and like hit you, you know what I mean? So many different things like that.
That's true.
I couldn't even imagine what water would be hitting me like. It would be completely different.
It's also that her sense of touch is like her only sense to be able to sense the world.
So wouldn't it be heightened then?
It would be heightened, but I've noticed that in some cases when you have a heightened sense, you can handle more. When in terms of touch, because your body's kind of like, okay, feeling everything all the time.
Right.
So extremes are actually less.
That makes sense.
For some reason, I don't know, it's weird. We would think that, oh, if you're so sensitive, then even a slight temperature, you'll be able to feel it.
Right.
But I don't know, man. I don't know. It's weird.
It's all relative.
All of that those kind of stories make me think we don't freaking know how the brain works and what it's capable of.
That's true. That's true. We think we know. We try to pretend like we do.
Yeah. I feel like people underestimate themselves a lot. Like whenever I talk to people about fasting, for instance, they're so much of the time they're like, "Oh, I can't do that."
Yeah, that's true. They just shut it right away.
Like their brain, they they shut it right away. But I'm just like, dude, yes, anybody can freaking fast.
Anybody can do it. You would do it if you didn't have the choice.
Yeah, I see it like. Well, not like this, but this also made me think, like, anybody you know who, as long as they don't have a disability, they could run a marathon. I mean, given enough time, given like a year, anybody could be trained and run a marathon.
Okay, I agree with that.
Right?
Yeah.
If you think about that, it's like, dude, the human body's capable of all kinds of shit.
You have to take those limitations off yourself most of the time.
Most of the time, it's our mental limitations.
Yeah, we say it's not for us. Like, okay, other people might be able to do it. They're just wired different.
They're just wired different, making excuses. No, we all have this potential.
Well, potential for sure.
Like,
it's cool, man. Fasting specifically, because it allows you to be in the state of, rather than like, okay, doing all this stuff and then seeing how your body reacts. It's like doing nothing and then seeing how your body reacts.
How your body reacts without anything.
Yeah,
that's true. It's almost like a clarity of what your real self is without this food, because food does affect.
It does.
Food affects the way you think, the way you, before you eat it, while you eat it, and after you eat it, you're in a totally different state.
For sure.
Each time.
I just feel like so many people are caught in this constant state of anticipating food, then enjoying the food, and then like, you know what I mean? It's just like
recovering from eating.
Yeah, we're just recovering from eating. You know what I mean? It's this constant cycle of just like going through it again and again in their head, just because maybe they're bored, or they're like trying to like escape certain things. That was it for me when I gained weight. But I gained weight like really rapidly, so it had to become really acute for that to happen.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people suffer with it, which is one of the reasons that I always try to include that, like talking about that stuff when people diet. Whenever I have a client that's like trying to lose weight and they've struggled, yo-yo dieting, stuff like that, you always just got to throw those psychological tests in there, because you never know what's been holding people back. You never know what, like, has there been their sticking point. Like, if they know, like, you know what I mean? We know how to eat healthier. We all know how to lose weight on some level.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, yeah, there are some gaps in education in this country on, like, nutrition and awareness. So, I mean, that is there and that is relevant for sure. Yeah. But on a big level, I just think people have to take responsibility. Like, it's your life. It's your body. If you don't take care of it, nobody's going to.
That's so true. But like you said, and I agree with that 100%, food is so psychological.
It is.
Because of, I mean, look at where it's placed. It's necessary. Mm-hmm. And we're hardwired. Our brain tells us, hey, we need to freaking eat sometimes. Yeah. Right? And if we don't eat, we die. Yeah. So there is this like emotional connection to food. And then when you're brought up and your parents are feeding you, that the way your parents feed you determines so much of your
really does.
Habits. Because like our parents did the same thing where they were like, oh, eat this, finish everything on your plate. Yeah. Until today, I'm like, dude, I don't need to finish everything on my plate, but I still freaking will. Yeah, yeah. You know, I'm just like, wait, I left something. Yeah. You know, like, course. So that plays a huge factor on it, and then it's something that we do because eating food will always make you kind of happy. kind of make you feel like, oh, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, like I'm doing something good.
Right.
So it'll always be like a way to cover up things.
Yeah, that's true.
I think if you're going to talk about diet, you have to talk about psychologically, why are you eating?
True.
Why are you eating more than you should eat?
True.
I think like 90% of the time it's psychological.
Oh, it always is, man. And I mean, like, see, knowing, like we talked about this, we just did. Knowing the right information, you can gain yourself awareness and learn how calories work, learn how macros work. What time are we at, by the way?
35.
Alright, we'll cut it soon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, you can learn how calories and macros work, but, like, if you don't apply it, nothing's going to change. So I think it's so important to, number one, change your awareness and perception of food. So instead of looking at food, and this is why I don't really like having my clients or really anybody track calories forever, because it just creates a negative relationship with food. Even if I eat an apple, that's taking away from my total calories for the day. And I do always have a certain number of calories to play with every single day. But it's, why work against something when I can work with food? That's just one thought that I had once, and it kind of forced me to rethink my relationship with food. So now what I do in terms of, because I haven't tracked calories and nutrition for like 3 to 6 months, and I've stayed like relatively the same amount of leanness. And so whatever I do when I like lean down, because I've been losing those 50 pounds for like, it's taken me a good 3 years. Like it takes time. Like I lost the first 30, 40 in the first year, and then, you know, creeping down to like getting that body fat lower and lower while my weights kind of stay the same and increasing muscle mass. It takes time with it. But what I think of it now is more like, okay, I don't want to just give myself enough calories, enough protein. I want to actually focus on the foods that are going to nourish my body, and then just think about getting the most nourishment for the foods that I can. And then that way it's like you always make better food choices just because you want to. It's like I want to give my body the highest quality of nutrition possible.
Yeah.
I don't want to give it shit, so it doesn't have anything to work with when I'm pursuing my goals, when I'm going to the gym, when I'm trying to lose weight, when I'm trying to, you know, make a new deal, whatever it is, whatever your passions are, whatever you're trying to accomplish, fuel yourself for energy. That's like the biggest thing.
And then I feel like that's a positive feedback loop too.
It is.
When you start to feel like, oh, I'm eating, but it takes longer for you to feel good with good food than it does for you to feel that quick high with bad food. Though.
That's true.
But if you do it for like a week or two and you're eating healthy, you feel better, and you're just like once you connect those two things, and you're not just your mind but like in your body too.
Yeah. Then
you're like it becomes something you want to do.
It makes real change.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I like that. I mean, like for me too, I hate counting calories.
Yeah.
You know, it makes it like feels like jail.
Yeah.
You know? You gotta count everything, weighing everything, second guess everything you order.
Yeah.
You know? And that's why I love fasting, dude. Like just being able to do that without that.
Makes it easier.
Makes it so much easier. But like if someone's trying to lose weight, we're fasting, but you can still even if you do 1 meal a day, you can still overeat your calories.
For sure.
So what about if you're trying to lose weight or like that?
See, that's why I do tell people to track their calories and macros, because you want to track them to the point where you understand how these foods are going to affect you. So you understand, it's not even necessarily understanding, oh, I have to eat 3,000 calories a day and this much protein. Not really. It's you getting a plan, start it, you have your macros set, track, and see how it affects your body. So track what you think 3,000 calories and 150 grams of protein would be. Go through that process and then see what the scale says. See how your body responds. Are you leaning down after a week or 2 weeks? You know, don't make snap judgment calls, right. But give it time and see how your body responds. And now you have much better mental idea. Yes, you have the macros and calories that you set at that time, but even if you didn't track 100% perfectly, if you kept your meals consistent and you were able to see results, now you can replicate that in your daily life. So if you're doing the fasting, I mean, there's a couple ways to do it. Even if you don't want to do 1 meal a day, even if you want to do 2 meals a day, which is a great strategy, I would say, number one, get your protein first, because that's just going to fill you up fastest. Yeah. So it's like when you're hungriest, eat the thing that's going to fill you up the most. Just kind of makes sense, so you don't binge on food that's too easy to eat.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to eat 150 grams of protein in one sitting. But it's pretty easy to eat 150 grams of carbs like that.
Oh, that'll happen.
That'll happen quick. well, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
So if you're doing 2 meals, having a really like paleo style, high protein, lower fat, lower carb meal in the beginning, a lot of veggies, a lot of protein first, that'll allow you to have more carbs and fat to work with later. That's a great way to set up your diet, and you'll also be kind of full from the first meal. That's a pretty easy way to do it if you don't want to do the 1 meal a day. Otherwise, you can do that 1 meal a day, and I just kind of throw those 2 meals together. So I would have my protein and my veggies.
Still do the same thing.
Pretty much the same thing.
Eat the veggies protein first, though.
Yeah, eat the protein and veggies first, and make sure you get enough protein. Then, if you really want to do the full-on and intuitive eating approach, find the foods that you would have found out when you were tracking your calories and protein that you can eat a lot of and feel good but not go overboard. So for carb sources and fat sources, maybe find those cuts of meat or those protein sources that aren't too high in fat or carb, but that you can fit in and hit your numbers consistently. And then with carbs, maybe...
Carbs is the hard thing though, like...
Carbs is hard. Just play it by ear. If you can eat bread and you can lose weight, and you like bread, eat bread. I'm not going to say it's the best thing for you. It's not necessarily bad for you, but it's like we were talking about before. They're just going to be nutrient void. There's no nutrients in those food because they've been processed to the point where the ingredients have been broken down to their absolute bares. So let's take bread, for example. We'll take it throughout the entire process. Grains are not inherently bad for you. Rice isn't inherently bad for you. But if we take off the bran and the shell and we put it through a bunch of chemical processes for cleaning, now we've removed the fiber, we've removed a lot of the micronutrient contents, and all we have is really the basic starch, which is important for our body. It is a caloric source and our body needs calories, but it also needs those other micronutrients and raw materials. So that's why bread gets more and more unhealthy the more processed that it is.
White bread, dude.
White bread is really one of the worst things you can have. It's just, see, like I said, it's not necessarily that it's the worst thing for you, it just doesn't have anything good. So there's better options. Look at it from that way and you just feel like, I don't eat bread.
And by the way, I actually freaking love whole grain bread.
Whole grain
bread. You
bread,
get some like good whole grain bread.
I like potato bread.
Ooh, potato bread.
Potato loaf.
That's actually good for you?
That's not bad, it's just potato flour.
Fuck yeah.
And potatoes are very like high in starch
bread
already. So you know what I mean? It's less processing and it's more like, so for anybody that doesn't know, for example, bread, this is kind of going back to that whole gluten-free thing. It was a bit of a fad and it's like overblown, but the basic understanding is that there are certain foods that are like more starchy and they're not really going to increase your inflammation that much, and there's certain foods that have been very processed and refined, like the breads and the grains that are going to increase inflammation if we eat them in large quantities. So potatoes and rice and all those different things, those don't have any gluten, so they don't really increase inflammation in the body, and they're clean, good source of carbohydrates.
Nice.
While all those breads and processed sugars and stuff like that will increase our inflammation over time.
Nice.
That's the main problem that you're going to get with those. And so those are my 2 best carb sources and what I recommend to most people.
Potatoes
and rice. Can't go wrong with them, man. People have been eating rice for centuries in many Asian countries. Find what works for you, of course.
They eat cow rice over there.
They eat more rice in this. I think there was a study done. I really don't remember. There's a city in Japan. The people had the highest life expectancy out of anywhere in the world, and I think they also had one of the highest consumptions of rice in any city or country.
But I get this perception of that about white rice that it's kind of highly processed. I almost see white rice as white bread.
Kind of. Not really. White rice, it's different than potatoes, because with potatoes we have white potatoes and we have sweet potatoes. Mm-hmm. And with the white potatoes, they automatically are very high on the glycemic index. They're more starchy. They're essentially they break down faster than sweet potatoes.
Right.
They're complex carbohydrates, sweet potatoes. White potatoes are a simple carbohydrate. Same thing with white rice and brown rice. The only difference is the bran has been kind of taken out. But see, there's many different types of rice. So for example, certain rices like sticky rice and white rice from Asian countries may not have had the bran removed and the fiber removed as much. So it really depends. Play it by ear. And see, carbs are an important fuel source. This is kind of this is a whole nother tangent. We'll make a podcast one day about vegan, vegetarian concepts and micronutrients, because that's a whole other thing. Especially with this new documentary. Have you heard of Game Changers?
No.
It's this new documentary that came out on Netflix. I've been hearing a lot about it. I watched it. It was a good documentary, well made. Obviously with documentaries in this day and age, they obviously have their own agendas and their own point of view that they want to promote and profit off of, as maybe what's it called? Cynical as that sounds, but it's, I think, the fact of the matter. And so yeah, there's a lot of ideas how they're coming that vegetarian and vegan diets are superior because they give you this fuel source. And like we were saying, eating a lot of white rice, you see these cultures that live a super long time. But what we see also is that for those individuals that avoid certain micros and certain macronutrients like protein, not getting enough iron, not getting enough magnesium, zinc, B12, a lot of those different things, cholesterol, they have hormonal issues down the line. But conversation for another time. We'll get into that some other day.
That's a rabbit hole.
That's a rabbit hole. Dude, what we could do is have that whole conversation taped and just watch the documentary and talk about it as we go.
Oh, nice.
I've seen people do that before. That'd be pretty fun. But yeah, man, it's been fun talking with you today.
Nice.
Good conversation.
Yeah.
Tons of content, tons of good stuff that we're going to do with it. It's be fun to edit it too.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's shut it off.
Let's do it.
Alright guys, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share if you enjoyed this content. And yeah, let us know what you want us to talk about next.